Click.
Yeah. It would go help if I mashed the live button, wouldn't it? So
Now
everybody
we're
missed.
live.
Yeah. Now we're live.
Excuse the boxes on the floor over here.
That's
It's one of those
man.
things, man. It's a room that doubles as everything else.
Yeah. Well, over here in this corner, we got all our Christmas gifts stacked up what ain't wrapped yet. So
Just shove them in the corner.
yeah. So yeah, we'll wait till some people get in here. And so how's deer hunt going for you there, Dwayne?
It's going pretty sad, to be honest with you. So I'm down here in South Mississippi, Central Mississippi, and our season starts October 1 and goes all the way till January 30th. We've got a lot of hunting time, and I just basically missed the first month of bow season. I had my surgery, and they didn't let me go back to full work, and so I chilled out and didn't do anything. But then started getting some good photos of some deer coming across my trail cams, and man, that got me pumped up. And about 43 miles from here to where I hunt. I got 125 acres. A friend of mine lets me hunt on, and so that's 100-mile round trip. No matter how you look at it.
Yeah.
So I've got this real nice 6-point that just keep me up at night. I know everybody goes 6-point, but if you saw this thing, you would it's a huge mass. And I went back last night. My wife was we were watching TV last night, and I was going through my videos from last year. You do that video dump, and so I dumped it to my computer, and I was sitting there just going down, checking videos, and there he was from last year. I just never recognized him until this year. Same little notch in his left ear, the exact same type of rack, 6-point again. I think he's got a little more mass this year than last year, so it's he's keeping me up.
I bet. So, kind of tell us the backstory of Tourney X and how you got into it and got into the design of it.
Well, as everybody's story starts, we all started fishing when we were young. I started when I was probably 3 or 4 years old, 5 years old, can't remember, but I know I have a photo of me in my penny loafers after Sunday school or church or something. I was down by the water in my Sunday clothes, and I can't believe I was doing that. Or Mom let me do that. But anyway, I was catfishing or doing something. But everybody has a story to tell. They do, and my dad bass fished. He fished local clubs, and I tagged along with him, and we just did that stuff. And then, I started my family. I bought my own bass boat, and had it for a couple, 3 or 4 years. And then my son came along, and I said, you know what, I'm going to sell the bass boat. I'm going to raise a kid and raise a family. And so I didn't fish for a long time until he was 15, 16 years old. And then I started getting back into fishing, and this kayak thing was all the craze, So I did not have a boat. I fished out of a John boat, and I started watching these kayak videos, and I was like, man, I got to try that. I said, that looks so cool. So I got in the wilderness. It was just a sight unseen. Bought a Wilderness 135 was my first kayak. Fished with a buddy of mine for about a year and a half, and we started discussing tournaments and how could we have tournaments. And then then we started hearing about SD cards and cameras and taking photos and bringing bringing all stuff in. And I knew there was, in my line of work, I'm kind of a problem solver. That's what I do for my day job, as an electrician, maintenance electrician. And so, and I do web designs and things like that. So, I kind of meshed all that together. Right. And me and that buddy of mine, he said, man, if you don't do it, he says, I'm going to do it without you. And so anyway, I ended up just heading down that path and found the domain Tourney X, and it just kind of, for Tournament X, the X was to mean not just fishing, but it could be anything. It could be bowling, it could be hunting, it could be anything. That's what the X was the relative for. It was just for anything, right? Well, we just never got out of fishing. We started fishing and it stuck, and it's like everybody says, time, you just don't have time to branch out and go 10 different directions. If something's working, we just hang with it. And so we built the website first. We ran the website for about a year and a half, and then we started getting, calls and emails about wanting an app. And man, I just would not budge. I did not want an app because I knew it was going to be management time and it was going to be all that stuff, and so I just, finally, they just pushed me over the limit, and we did it, and it worked for a while, and then that one kind of that app kind of dissolved, so we rewrote a new one to pick up where that one kind of fell off. And that leads us to kind of like this discussion we talked about a little while ago, Daniel, but is that, we're writing a brand new app. So we're taking our old app and we're just molding it into a new phase of Tourney X Pro. New look, new feel, new code. It's going to be written different code base. It's going to be smoother, faster. We're working on the fix for Android right now. With our Android stuff, we don't have an image picker to pull the images from Android. We have to kind of go to a browse and do some extra things. We're going to write our own image picker built into our app now. So that way we can just cut the cord we can still use the native camera, but that native camera will send it into our image picker, if that makes sense, inside the app. So that way we're not at the constraints of what Android or iPhone are doing on that part. So
Right.
That's where we're headed. And I think I sent a couple of screenshots to you, and I sent out to 10 or 15 people because I want to know some feedback. I want to hear from people that use it every day and let me know if we're going down the right path. And I appreciate it.
So the one thing that I saw on the new picture, and I got a new phone today. My wife bought me a new phone. So, and I don't have them pictures anymore because they're on my whole phone. But there was something at the top that you could toggle. What was?
You saw that, didn't you?
Yeah.
So about 3 or 4 months ago, I don't know, it just came to me that we've always had the app was centered around the angler. Our app has always been centered around a tool for the angler, nothing else, right? No judges, no public views, nothing like that. So I started just thinking, how can we integrate the public and the anglers into one app and try to figure out how everybody can use the same app? And so I thought about 2 different paths. Like when you go into the app, you either a fan or you're fishing, right? You're doing one or the other.
Yeah.
And so there's a toggle switch it's now we haven't written the fan side yet, so just bear with me. I sent it to my programmers and they wrote it in, and I kind of like where it is. I like how it's set up, but we haven't written that part yet. We've got to get the fundamentals put back into our current app, get that up to date, and then that's going to be the next progression. That's where we're headed next. So the idea is when you flip that toggle to fan, you'll be able to follow an angler. You're going to be able to look at leaderboards throughout all of Tourney X through the app now. The public will have to become a member just like the anglers are. Our hope is that people that will come and get our app and they'll go out and follow somebody, they might get the bug. Okay. They might want to convert over and come and fish. And that was the whole fans and fish idea. So that's kind of where we're headed with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, if you follow someone, like just from a fan side, just maybe this isn't even something you've gotten into thought of. So say I follow Daniel. If he's doing a tournament, will it notify me that he's in an event? Like, will I get some sort of like, hey, Daniel's doing an event on Tuesday?
Well, that's some of the things I need to talk to some people about and just get some feedback, just like yourself. One of the things I wanted to do was if you followed Daniel and you followed someone else, if you clicked on, so you go into the fans area and you click on that name It's going to pull up all his tournaments that he's in.
That's
And
cool.
then you can see the list of tournaments of just his tournaments he's in. He might
Okay.
be in 1, he might be in 6. Okay.
Yep.
So then we could do push notifications. We can do that in the app already.
Right.
So why not integrate that in that says, you know, Daniel's fishing this event. It starts in a, you know, couple of days or whatever.
Right.
I don't know how we're going to, I don't know. You know, those are just things that we can progress into and
Yeah, because I know a lot of apps I've done, like they do like a check-in at the tournament, so you could easily. I'm a nerd, so I do computer. I work for a software company, so like you could easily tie in the push notification to him checking in and be like, he is now live, and then that way, because that would be really cool.
What I would love to see is that says Daniel just moved into first place in this tournament because he just submitted an 18-inch bass. Now you could turn that off, but we would have to turn off the notifications of like that leaderboard. Not all the notifications, but just of. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Do we want to see everything, or we just want to see parts of it? So but man, wouldn't it be cool that you get a notification that you know that you're in the tournament with Daniel and he just like trumped you and you're like.
See, actually, that would actually be. Now that you say that, that actually would almost be the smarter way to do it. Is you could just do notifications when Daniel submits a fish, because then if I get notifications seeing Daniel submitted an 18-inch bass, then I know he's in a tournament, and if I'm competing against him, I can be like, "Oh, damn it! I need to go get.
I gotta go look.
Right? I gotta go figure out, you know, where he's at because he may have just pushed ahead of me." Yeah.
Right. So that's the integration we'd like to see.
That's cool.
And I think it's going to be the what we do probably in the mid 2024, you know, to late. If not first of 2025, but I think that's where we're headed.
Right.
Messages, maybe some instant messages, maybe some push messages from Daniel to you, or you back to Daniel, or whatever. Or if a director sends out a blanket push, then you could respond back to that director.
Yep.
Without having to.
See, that would be handy too, because I know there's been some tournaments where the directors at the ramp live events where they're like, "Listen, check your phone because there's a storm coming in and we may have to text you to get off the water." If the director could just send a straight push to everybody, be like, "Look, we're pausing for 2 hours to get past the storm."
Well, now we do that now. We're doing that right now.
That's cool.
So in the dashboard of the director, now, just so you know, to answer this question as it popped up, but it will. Directors are still going to work from the website. Okay, I wholeheartedly do not want to deal with directors judging on a small phone. Okay, I think they need to see it on a bigger screen to get it right. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of integration that I really don't want to do right now, but it could come in future years. But anyway, I do want to shift the public over and still keep the website, by the way, because some people like to just queue it up on their computer and like to watch leaderboards.
Right. So let me ask you about this, Dwayne. Is you were talking about like following anglers and everything. Would the angler be able to post that to his social media and say, "Hey, I'm fishing this tournament. If you want to follow me, you can." Or
those are just things that we need to sit down. And this is what I want to build a committee. You know, a lot of people, a lot of companies, and I'm just not one of those companies. Okay, you understand that. But a lot of companies just take the ball and run with it. Right. I want feedback from y'all. Okay. Yep. If we can do it, I want to do it. But we need to have that. We just need to have that common ground of what do you want to see, what do you not want to see, and then let's all just figure it out, lay it out on paper. And if it makes sense, we do it. If it doesn't make sense, we don't do it. Right. Yep. I don't like clutter. I don't look in here, but I don't like clutter. And that's why I try to keep Tourney X simple, you know, as simple as I can. So.
Right. Well, let's be honest, fishermen aren't traditionally tech savvy either. So keeping it basic is to the advantage of the anglers too. You know your demographic. You're not getting a lot of high-end tech guys that are usually catching fish. So
and that's why I really like the one functionality we put in Tourney X that I've always liked is that multiple submit where you can just tag the tournaments. Yep. And then you can submit one fish 4 different ways. I've really enjoyed that feature. Yep. It just works. You know, you don't.
Yeah, I've got other apps that I've got to log out, log in. I've got to switch tournaments.
Exactly. And
I spend an hour on shore submitting because I'm double dipping. I've got to go do it. Yeah.
And you shouldn't need to do that.
Yeah, you know? I agree. That's awesome.
I want to keep it simple. I want the feedback from the anglers. Just know that I can't make everything happen because they're going to ask, but we can hit the highlights and do it, So
Right. So we got it says Facebook user, but I've got my other stuff up. Mr. Alvin said, will events on the current version carry over to the new version?
Yes.
When you get it.
Same,
when you get it.
Yeah. Same database. Everything's on our database
Right.
that we're using one API, and it reaches and pulls from that database and pulls into so the new app. Yes. Everything it'll just shift over. Correct.
Shift over.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
We'll phase one out, phase one in. It'll be just like version, 14.81 is this, and version 14.82 will be that. So
Gotcha.
You'll just know, there's a new version. Keep right on going. So.
Right.
Cool.
What problems have you been seeing with these new? I know that I think Josh Steele asked you in a thread one day on Facebook about he was having problems with the iPhone, their new system being updated and pushing out new updates, and it kind of throwed a flicker in there with his photos or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of updates with this new 17.
Right.
A lot of issues, but I've even seen people with merging two users together. I called a buddy of mine today. His son, when I called him, his son's name popped up on my phone, and I said, Chris, why does it say Clyde? And he said, yeah, that's my son. And somehow or another, the two people merged together under one account. I was like, how does that happen? And they said it's something to do with the 17 update, 17.1 or something. But yeah, that's what's happened to Android 13 and their security updates. I'm gonna cover that real quick. But what Android has done is they're wiping the GPS. They're wiping it off the pictures because of security. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm going through.
Stupid.
So when you go in, you take a photo with your Android, and you go to Tourney X and hit, submit, catch, browse, and you find that picture. If you submitted that first picture you come to, there's no GPS on it, because that image picker page, none of those pictures have GPS on them. What you have to do,
that's crazy.
Yeah. What you have to do is in the upper right-hand corner, there's 3 dots. If you'll click those 3 dots, it gives you another browse button, and that's on Android. Yeah. And for some reason, they have 2 image pickers. They have a top one and a bottom one. And it basically does this. And then those images have the GPS on them. So until we fix this in about 12 weeks, we just have to deal with what they got.
Right.
So
that sucks.
Yeah.
That's dumb. Like,
it just happens like
I don't want to disparage Android either, but it's like, at the same time, it's like, I turn that on. Like when I set my camera up, I choose to have my location services on. So like that should have been enough. Like I should have been able to be like, I don't want this on, or I do want this on. Not you're gonna manipulate, because that would really suck, because if I didn't know that, like if I wasn't made aware of that, I know like I've done tournaments where like people have been DQ'd because they don't have the data. Right. And how you don't have any control over that if you didn't know.
What we've done in Tourney X is there's a pop-up that says your GPS has not been found. Click continue or cancel. Okay. If you click continue, it's going to mark where you are. So if you're on the lake, you click continue, you're good, right?
Okay.
Because you're on the lake.
Yeah.
So until we get to that point where we are pulling the GPS correctly, we just have to use that or go to the second image picker. Okay. So
it's crazy. That's a lot. That's the thing. So I was talking with my buddy, because I wanted to build a logbook app, because a lot of the logbook apps out there are like, in my opinion, stupid, because they basically are always so ad supported that they're almost unusable. Yeah. And I wanted to build one. And then I started looking into the Android like operating system and the programming of it. And I was like, that's got to be the hardest part of running an app like that, is you've got people not only using this app, but you got people out in places that look like this background trying to submit photos, and you've got to deal with all the different versions of Android and all the different versions of, because let's be honest, like I said, fishermen aren't tech savvy. So you're going to have fishermen using iPhone 6s, and you're going to have fishermen using iPhone 13s because their kids bought it for them.
You know how many versions of Android there are?
There's a lot. 1800. Yeah. And even within that, being a tech guy, like Samsung's firmware is different than Google's firmware,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
different than Motorola's
Fighting
firmware.
it
So
all the
those
time.
all have to have compatibility stuff built in too.
And they
There's
think
a lot.
this stuff's easy that I do, and I work a day job.
Yeah. See, I
But
work
you-
for the
but-
company I work for does electronic signature, so we
Yeah.
have a lot of the same stuff. We have to deal with the Android, you know, and what people don't realize, and this is something that I'm going to throw this out there as a tech guy, so understand this. Google doesn't call Tourney X and say, "Hey, we're pushing out this new setting."
No.
They find it out when you call and say, "Hey, my Tourney X isn't working anymore."
That's right.
They're not calling the developers and saying, "Hey guys, we're doing this thing that's going to systematically break everything that you do." They just do it, and then they have to adapt. It's not something that you can just.
They
have
will
a
push out. They will push out a kind of a beta. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But if you don't hop on that beta and do the beta with Tourney X and find out and is it really don't give you a whole lot of time to fix those problems. It just slaps you in the face, and you're like, okay,
Yep.
now what?
Right. So I know,
we've had
Dwayne,
the same thing.
you traveled to Sweden or Norway, somewhere over
Sweden.
there.
Yeah, I actually went through Amsterdam
Yeah.
into Sweden last year. Yeah.
So just to talk that on a tidbit versus the U.S. versus a foreign country. I know you just got Mexico online as well.
Oh wow, man, I got goosebumps. Yeah.
Kind of see where Tourney X is going. You know, you're international now, man.
Well, so our first country that really ever dabbled with us was Australia. Okay. And they're not really doing much with us anymore because there's an app over there already. And I think that's just got it kind of sealed up, which is fine. There's always competition.
Right.
However, Hobie has been very generous to us in helping us get our name out. And I want to throw a plug out to Hobie and appreciate all that Hobie, Steve Fields, AJ do for us in helping us. And let me throw a plug out for BSS too, because Bassmasters, if it weren't for those national events, we wouldn't exist, and we appreciate that so much. But the Hobie thing, I got a phone call one day from Steve, and he said, I can't remember what it was all about, but he just said, "Hey man, we would really like to use Tourney X in Sweden for the Hobie Worlds." And I'll tell you what, you couldn't get the smile off my face. I mean, it was like, and I did, I was so just, I don't know, man. It was so exhilarating to hear that and to talk to him about that. And he said, "Yeah, what we want to do is we're going to do 3 days of test events, and then 3 test events for 3 days, and then for 2 days we're going to have the tournament, or vice versa. I can't remember what it was. Maybe in 2 and 3, but and then he goes, would you like to come over to Sweden?" And that's when reality set in.
That's cool.
And so I went and bought my ticket. Told my wife, I said, "Babe, I'm going to Sweden." So, and I she just had a knee replacement. And
That's
she
right.
wasn't able to bend it very much, so she was really scared to go on a 9 or 10 hour flight and have to deal with that in coach.
Yeah.
So I traveled over by myself, and it seemed like it took me 36 hours to get there, but just layovers and all that mess. But I'll tell you, beautiful country, great people. We had I think 18 countries represented in that particular tournament. Italy, France, Germany, US, Canada. And it's like I never left the States, because English, all their English was great. They understood Tourney X. We had a couple days to trial it. No hiccups. It ran well. The tournament ran. The only problem that I wish we could have fixed is the time delay between here and there, because the people in the U.S. did not get a chance to really see the tournament as it unfolded because they were in bed.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you understand what I'm saying? I mean, like right now in the U.S., you get to follow along, right? But you're over there and you can't follow along. So I wish there was a way we could have said, "Hey, can there be a 7-hour delay?" But you can't fix everything. But yeah, it's so we're in like 8 countries now: Mexico, Germany, France, Italy, Sweden, Canada, the U.S., Kuwait. We ran one in Kuwait. Had 42 anglers over there fishing. I'm not sure if they're going to run anymore or not. I hope they do. The guy that ran it, he owns his own Hobie dealership there, and I think he's got a newborn twins, and I think that's taken a lot of his time, so he's not able to run a tournament. So anyway, hopefully as they get older, he'll swing back around and he uses some more. But just very, very generous people. They're very nice. Everybody is. I mean, I talk to them either via WhatsApp or we talk via Skype or some way. We pick a phone up and call, and it's people go, wow, the world is huge, right?
Right.
Let me say this. The world is not that big. Okay. When you go to Europe and you want to drive from Germany to Sweden, it's only like 6 hours. I'm just saying, it's like when you're in the US and you want to drive from Maine to wherever, it's 17 hours. Okay. That's all the way across Europe. I mean, it's very small over there. And, but to be able to pick a phone up and call somebody over there in Italy or France or Germany and just have conversations, it just, it really, really makes you feel good.
Yeah. Even talking about other countries, you get a chance to go over there and see what they fish for. They don't fish for largemouth bass in certain parts of the country.
Now in Italy they do.
Yeah.
Italy and Spain.
They do have a largemouth.
Yes, Italy has the Italy Bass Nation, and Spain as well has a largemouth. So, and Mexico has largemouth, of course.
Right.
But yeah, when you get up into that northern part, it's just like here. When you get up to the northern part, then it turns into pike, perch. It's it's almost like us with walleye and muskie. And so
didn't they had a perch in that Sweden tournament?
That's right.
Didn't they?
Two pike and 3 perch, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how did the U.S. end up in that? I never went back to kind of see how the U.S. ended up in that.
It's funny that I don't remember who landed where. I really don't.
Right.
I do know that the person that won it, his name is Stian. And it's so funny how that ended up. I sat at the table with Stian and Felix Frey that night. Stian was on a call-up list. He wasn't even supposed to fish. He was there as a backup person in case somebody fell through.
Yeah.
And the guy that had the twins I just told you about from Kuwait couldn't make the trip. He filled in for him, and he ended up winning the thing.
Oh, wow.
So it's an interesting story how that worked.
Yeah.
I think that's the funnest thing about like when I do tournaments is I actually personally, I can't look at the score. So until I fill a bag, I don't check my score because it gets in my head and then I spin out. So like I'll catch a fish and if I know the score, I don't have a bag yet, I'll end up trying to chase the bigs before I've even got 5 and it screws me up. But I know like what's cool about it is I have a couple of friends, these guys actually. So every once in a while, I'll get a text message being like, "You're doing good." Like I didn't realize, like I've literally had friends sit there and score watch and watch the leaderboards, and like, dude, you're having a great day on the water, and I'm like,
don't tell me.
Why are you watching my random small Massachusetts tournament trail? But it's kind of cool because at the same time, it gives you that like. Far from doing like Bassmasters or Hobies right now. I'm doing a local small trail, but like it gives you that feel like you get that competition that like I'm competing and people are actually watching this. Right. And that's as a content creator, that's partly why I got in the tournaments was because to be honest, people like it whether you win, and be honest, I get more views when I suck. So like at the end of the day, people want to see me fail. So either way, I make a video and people watch it. But it's cool, like when you have that. The app made it. You couldn't have done it any other way. Like without a website or an app. Like kayak tournaments, in my opinion, this is a little bit biased, but I have bass boat too. But I don't like tournaments where they're weighing fish. It's probably going to create all kinds of controversy. But at the end of the day, putting a fish in a live well is less
fun.
better for the fish. It's not
Well-
good for the fish. It just isn't. Like
Yeah.
all these guys talk about all the science, and I've seen all the biologist stuff, but at the end of the day, if I'm holding that fish, I've timed it. Like, I've watched my videos back after. It takes me less than 30 seconds from unhooking that fish, getting it on the measuring board, and getting it back in the water. That's got to be better for that fish than sitting in a live well for 6 hours.
Yeah, it is. But somebody had posted the other day the mortality rate of CPR versus traditional, and it really wasn't but like 30% difference, I think, or something like that. So you'd think it'd be higher, but I don't know. I don't know if I believe that. But so I got a question for you. So I got two questions. One is, so when you go out, for both of you, when y'all go out and fish a tournament, your strategy is what? Do you try to fill your bag as fast as you fish, fill it with small fish, or do you fish for quality fish?
Go ahead, Mike. I'll let you answer first.
That's a loaded question. So
I mean, I'm in there too because I compete.
So what it is for me, what I learned, and this is for mentality's sake, is I need to get on any fish early, because once I catch that first fish, I get that, like, I am,
the monkey's off your back.
I'm stressed the whole time as soon as I hit that ramp, because in my mind, and the thing is too, you have to keep in mind what I've been doing. I just started doing live tournaments last year. Before, I did a lot of like KBFs and like monthly challenge series stuff like that, local stuff. I was driving 3.5 hours to the ramp, so I'm leaving my house at 2:00 in the morning for a 5:30 captain's meeting. So I'm already 4 hours into my day before I launch. So I'm cracking out on energy drinks. I'm drinking Monsters on the way down. I'm already like anxious as it is. So as soon as I catch that first, doesn't matter if it's a 12-incher or an 18-incher. Once I've got that first fish, what I used to do, and that's why I said it was kind of like a double-edged thing, is I used to then check the score. And I used to go, okay, so I got my first fish. Now I'm in the app, going to check the score and see what I need and make the decision there. What I do now is I catch the 5 fish I can get my hands on early. I catch 5, I check the score, and then I make my decision, because there's too many times in tournaments where I caught 5 that were all, 14 inches, 15 inches, mid-range fish, and then left. I caught 5 fish in an area and left because I looked at the score.
No.
And I was like, oh, I need 18s and there's only 15s here. Well, lo and behold, guess what I did? I came back to that area at the end of the tournament, caught an 18. If I'd stayed there, was there 3 more 18s there?
Is you never leave fish to find fish.
And that's why I try to fill a bag first, because the thing I've learned is, say it's a 5 fish limit, right? Or whatever your limit is. If you have 5, you're doing good anyways. For the most part, if you have 5, you're now 2 fish or 3 fish from contention, because all you need to do is get 118, 120, 121, and all of a sudden you're jumping up that rank. Yeah. If you get 121 and you got 2 fish on the board, 40 inches aren't going to win you nothing. So maybe in some states, but I mean, I'm not catching, Texas bass, but here in Vermont, we have decent fish. I mean, it's not hard to catch an 18, 19-inch bass on average here. So I know there's some states where, that 13, like I know New Jersey is like a 13-inch bass is a monster, but so
with me, Dwayne, and going to the 2-part question here is, I came from a bass boat world into a kayak world. So it's totally opposite. Yeah, totally opposite. Totally opposite. When I was in the bass boat world, I was hunting big fish. That's all I was, because you can run and gun.
Yep.
In the kayak world, you kind of slow down. And my big thing is I want 5 fish in that live well before 12 o'clock.
Okay.
Yep.
Because especially in South Georgia during the summer months, down in the same way in Mississippi, it hits 12 o'clock, then fish shut off.
Yes.
Just for that.
And it's
point.
a grind.
It's a grind. And then you're just picking places apart until you just get that one.
And sometimes it's before 12. Sometimes it's around 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. 6 to 10. You got to get them then.
Yeah. Yep. And if I know it's a big fish fishery, then we're talking another game, because you can catch 5 fish and have 110 inches. Mm-hmm. And the guy next to you, he catch 5 fish and have 120 inches, Yeah. But I like to get my 5 fish on the board first.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm interviewing you guys now because I got another question. So
that's good. Go ahead.
A minute ago, you had mentioned about bass boat world versus the kayak world. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Daniel, since you came from the bass boat world, how are your and I'm putting you on the spot because I'll tell you how my feelings are. How are your feelings? Are they about anglers bringing those fish up on the stage and weighing them like they do now? I mean, how does it bother you? Because honestly, I was raised that way, right?
If nobody's ever attended a bass event, a BASS event or an MLF event,
it's different,
but because they take care of the fish so well in them events, they're very strict to how them fish are taken care of and where they're put at and things like that. But in a general local, I would say a grassroots club in the bass boat world, these guys aren't using the slime stuff for their live wells. They're not. Who says they're not throwing half dead fish back or things like that? But ever since I got into the kayak world, I'm like, okay, this CPR stuff needs to go on up the chain a little bit.
How do we do that though?
How do you get the MLF or the bass or people to say, hey, okay, here's the measuring board that everybody needs, and this is how we're going to do it. Just like on Lake Fork out in Texas.
Lake Fork right now, yeah.
Yeah. So when they fish the events out there, they weigh them in the boat. If the fish is over 21, 22 inches, they take a scale off that fish and release the fish back. They release all the fish back. They just take the weight. Mm-hmm. Is that a way that they'll eventually start going to kind of catch photo release or weigh photo release or, but as a kayak fisherman now, I think it's just, especially if you have a tough fishery that you're constantly beating, the fish are better.
So you think that because you've converted to a kayak fisherman, you think that's changed your whole mind and your whole opinion about how these fish are handled? I mean, I do.
I certainly do too, Dwayne.
Because there's an option. Really there's a new option to this, right? And
that's right.
Whether it's a good or bad option, it's an option. And that's what I when I go to these bass boat tournaments, they're like, oh yeah, we do this. And I said, well, this is another option. Right. You could actually run this tournament while you're running your tournament. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can measure them and submit them.
I've been talking to a guy that runs like a charity tournament here for a family every year. And I've been kind of talking with him on the side is, why don't we try this thing next? You could have your weigh in, right, but let me show you the CPR side of it as well. And see if we can, because Savannah River down here gets beat up a lot. You got 20 clubs that fish the same stretch of river every month. And, even though river fish migrate more than lake fish or small reservoir fish, but
see, I think the adventure series, that one that he was talking about, so they did something that's interesting because what they're doing is they're letting anglers submit their GoPro footage and they're using that at the weigh-in so they can actually show their footage from the fish that they caught as part of the weigh-in. There's actually a thing on their website where you can submit a 30-second clip of the fish that you caught that you entered into the tournament, and then they're going to show that as part of the weigh-in presentation. Because the reason why they hold those fish up on stage is because that's what Berkeley and Rapala, they want to be able to have their logo back there and have those guys hold those fish up, and they want Gerald Swindle talking about how he bought the bait himself, and they want that story. So if you could combine it, in my opinion, that would be better. I think definitely local trails should go measurement. And the reason why I say that is because, and I've talked to a few people that are biologists, and in my opinion, so here's something that I've personally started doing. I won't have a scale next year. And the reason for that is you look at my bass, right? I posted a YouTube video this week. I weighed it. Now, granted, I don't have a professional level scale. I had a freaking $20 Berkeley scale, right? My scale said 6 pounds. It was an 18.5 fish. Probably wasn't actually 6 pounds. That fish could be 6 pounds. It could not be 6 pounds, but that fish can't be less than 18 inches if I take a picture of it on a measuring board. That fish in the spawn is 18 inches. That fish in the middle of the summer is 18 inches.
Yeah.
So the age of that fish doesn't, you can kind of, if you catch a 22-inch fish, that's an older fish than that 16-inch fish. Whereas if I catch a 6-pound bass, it could be
22
just
inches
gorged with food. It could be a fall bass that just got gorged up for the spawn.
Right.
Yeah.
So the actual, in my opinion, the actual, like, it's like a buck.
Yeah.
You got 10 points on that buck, but he could be 100 pounds.
Yeah. Well, you could have a 10 point that measures 180 inches.
Right.
And you could have a 10 point that measures 140 inches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So in my opinion,
it's about mass, it's about length, it's about, know, so it's the same way with fish. But
honestly, in that measuring board, you can see it. If it's a 5-pounder,
yeah, I know.
You could tell because that fish is spilling out over top of that catch board.
Here's what I keep telling everybody: it's verification. Okay, it's being able to verify that boat, verify that fish.
Yep.
By one person, you know what I'm saying? Not having to have two people and have somebody that's some referee. At least on a measuring board, if it's done correctly and the board's not cut, tail's not cut, and all that crap, it's done. You know, it's a better measurement tool for us.
I'm sure somebody's going to call me on this and quote on this, but it's a lot harder to cheat in a kayak tournament than it is a bass tournament, a weight tournament. There's a lot less variables.
Yeah.
Because if you're following the rules, and if you guys haven't done a kayak tournament, go on KBF's website and download that PDF of rules. There's a reason why those are all there, because somebody cheated, but it's a lot harder to manipulate that data during a live event than it is to stuff lead weights down the mouth of a largemouth. Because you may or may not get caught, because some of these local trails, they're not filleting every fish.
No.
They're just throwing them back.
I'll never forget the look on that guy's face when he was cutting them fish open.
Oh, yeah. So we got a couple of questions here, Dwayne. I've got starred. The first one is Off the Hook Outdoor says, I like the GPS app on the Tourney X because of all the cheating that was going on. I've used Tourney X for a few years now. So tell us the story behind the GPS. Why is the GPS so important? Is it because of where fish can be caught, or where an angler could be at, or?
I don't think it's necessarily I need to know where that spot is where the fish is caught. It's not that. It's more of, are you on that lake? And to be quite honest, to be perfectly honest, if we were all honest in this, you know what I'm saying? And I just gave you a pop-up, or just when you click on submit fish, okay, I can mark your location with that button. And I thought about it way back when I started building the app. When you click submit fish, it marks your location. If we had done that, okay, we don't do that, and you were submitting it from the water, we wouldn't need to worry about GPS, right? Because I know you're on that lake. So that's been the whole GPS thing. Look, you and I could go out there tomorrow and you could just waylay them one day, okay? And I could get your location and go out there tomorrow, next day, and I won't catch a one. Fish move. They're not, they're hot spots. I get that. Ledges and points and things like that. But I mean, it doesn't mean they're going to be there.
Right. And I think you asked that on the director's Facebook group. should we turn off the location on the director side so them coordinates can't be only?
It should. It's being done. It's going to be done this next year. It'll be
Right.
We're not wiping it. We're just turning it off and hiding it so that directors can't go back in a year or two and go, let me go see where that was called out on Lake Fork. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or, you know, I think it's
Right.
only fair. I do.
Yeah.
And blame me for not doing it sooner. But the questions came up. I'm listening, and I'm going to make the choice to do something about it. Okay. So, and if somebody calls me and says, hey, man, I need to turn it back on, I'm putting a button in there that says, I'm going to go in there and flip a switch. Daniel, if you need to check a fish for some reason, I'll flip a switch, turn it back on for you. And then you call me and I'll turn it back off. You know what I mean? So,
so it's not purging the data. You're just
no, I'm not going to purge it. No. So, I mean, it's just we'll show it or not show it. And that just keeps everybody on even playing field, I think.
I'm not going to lie. That's one of the things I like the most about the Tourney X site. I will say I've used the Tourney X site for scouting for a lake, because I went back and looked at previous tournaments on that lake to see what the average catches were. So I knew, like, because that's one thing when you ask that whether I want to get 5 early or not, I've actually done research on Tourney X and go, okay, so for the last 3 years, anytime I find a tournament on this body of water, 80 inches won it, 90 inches won it, 85 inches won it. So then I kind of know where I need to be at. And that's something that a lot of the other tournament apps that I've been part of don't have. They don't have that history. And I kind of like that because, like I said, it made me feel better. I had a tournament that I placed 3rd in. And the reason why, part of it is because I had gone on Tourney X. I looked and I said, okay, I know I need 90 inches to win, because every tournament that the winner won on, it was between 85 and 90 inches. So it's kind of cool to be able to see that information.
So a couple of things, but that, that could be a double-edged. Well, okay, so it could be a double-edged sword. So if you're fishing a tournament and you go look, let's just say me, you, and Daniel are out there fishing one day, and I go look at that leaderboard like you said you don't like to do,
right?
But I did, and I saw Daniel had 90 inches and you had 48, and I had 0.
Yep.
And I saw where he's fishing at. Not that I'm looking for him, but if I passed him, you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's you can use that. I guess that could be a strategy. You know what I'm saying? Is that that just needs to be between angler. I mean, what do you feel about that? Because I don't know.
So well, there's give and take on that. So I've done that. So I've had that thought in my head. So I've been around the guy that was leading, and then pedaling up the shore, and oh, there he is. And I've had the thought maybe I should sneak in behind him because clearly he's on something. But I honestly, personally, I just was like, found my own fish. Yeah. But I could see where, it's weird because in my mind, see, I come from a small like grassroots trail, and our trail was extremely respectful of each other. Like we would go out to like pizza after the tournament,
right,
and like hang out. So like we were more grassroots and less like fist fighting at the end of the day kind of tournament.
So should we hide the leaderboard during the day from the anglers and leave it on for the public?
In my opinion, I would say give the director the option to do like even a scheduled shut off.
Actually, we're doing that. It's coming up.
Okay, so there you go.
Two things we're going to do. We're going to give the director an option, turn the leaderboard off for the anglers on the app, and leave it on for the public. Now, the only drawback in that is somebody could call you just like they called you and said, hey, man, you're doing so well. I'll see you on the, you know what I'm saying? Now, the likelihood of that happening are lower, right? But anyway, that's something.
So when you're saying that, Dwayne, is on the director side, when you go to set up your tournament and you got all them dates and times in there, is that going to be another block in there? Say, turn the leaderboard off.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I've done tournaments like that, and I kind of like it because I will say, as an angler in the tournament, it makes 2 things happen. One, that story you were just saying, right? So say you got 48 inches and Daniel's got 80. If you get to the end of the tournament, say the last 2 hours, and you don't know what Daniel has, you're going to stay and fish. You may leave if you go look at that board the last 2 hours. You may just say, screw it, I'm going home because I know I'm getting beat. Whereas and when you get to that weigh-in, honestly, in my opinion, that's where I'm more likely to hang out because I don't know if I won.
Right. And that's where this question comes in from Al. It says CPR with a weigh-in style event at the end is an excellent way to keep people involved.
Yep.
Yeah. So it kind of if you shut the leaderboard off, it kind of keeps everybody there.
Yeah.
And saying, okay,
where did we land?
Who's going to win it?
Which helps,
last time-
the tournament group because they
yeah.
have sponsors that have, they have a banner and they have all this stuff there and they want to make
right.
sure some of them televise it, some of them record it and post
Yeah.
it. So they're not getting that exposure.
I'm going to circle back around and ask you another question.
Sure.
Okay.
Sorry if I'm doing this, but
no, that's awesome.
No.
This is actually I'm enjoying this because I've always wanted to do something like this where we can discuss things because, hey, you never know what might come out of this down the road. But
yeah.
Right.
So what if we were to see how I put this? Okay, so you said that you go out and search our website, our tournament pages, and you get a feel for maybe what they did certain times of the month. We love transparency. That's us. That's what we've been known for. We want people to see the fish pictures, time, stamp, date, stamp. I think it's only right that we do that. Okay.
Yep.
I'm not hiding anything. I don't want to hide anything. So what if down the road we said for a nominal fee of, say a membership fee or another bump on a membership cost, we actually show you how many fish were caught on that lake in August or September or August. There were say they were, say in the month of August on Lake Fork, there were 48 18-inch bass caught.
Yeah, like the stats.
Yeah. So, but you can only get it if you're a member. Okay. So,
yeah.
Okay. So what, everybody says, we don't ever want you selling our location. Well, we're not selling the location. We're selling information about what this lake did at certain times of the year. And we're not selling it. We're just offering it as a membership bump.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What do you feel about that? I'm just curious.
So the question would be, how is it presented? Is it
it would be,
I can filter it and choose what I want to look at, or is it just?
Well, it would be when you log in, and just never hadn't decided that yet. But when you log in, you'll be able to choose a lake and choose a month,
criteria,
like a month, and then it's going to spit out this data, right?
So you're talking about, Dwayne, is say, okay, in the year of 2022, in April on Lake Fork in 2022, that's your filter.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would pull all the fishes, all the tournaments that were held on Tourney X on Lake Fork during that month of 2022.
Not and just mix them. It doesn't. They won't be
every tournament. Yeah.
No. Yeah. I don't want to separate them out into tournaments.
Right.
I just want to throw them in a bunch and say, okay, on this.
Yeah.
It gives you the hot months. It gives you the hot times of the year. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
As someone who has used that technique, I did it with an Excel sheet. Is what I did.
Well, I mean, it can be done.
So you're making my life easier because what you're saying is you're adding it into the app, whereas I literally took an Excel sheet and typed it in, and then found another tournament that specifically referenced in the description that it was at that lake. And to be honest, I probably wasn't even getting all the information because the Big Bass Challenge, I don't know where that was. Whereas you guys are going to have the location, so you're going to know that was on Lake Fork or that was on Chickamauga or.
Right.
So some of that's because I wasn't even having that.
Even not as a tournament fisherman, if you had access to that information, say, hey, I want to go catch a PB in the state of Texas.
Yep.
I want to go catch a PB in the state of Tennessee. Right. You can kind of see
which month was the best month for that.
Right.
And you could just go into the app, pick it up, our website, pick it up, read about it, and say, okay, I'm scheduling a trip to go this month sometime. Yeah. But
so one ask I would have is add time into that filter, if you can. Time submitted. I know it's going to be subjective because they may have submitted it later. Because then
you'd want it time taken, not submitted.
Right. Because if you did that, if you could include that, then I could be like, oh, I have a better chance at 8:00 in the morning on Lake Fork in August.
Yeah.
Than at night. Because it will tell me because sometimes that's one of my biggest debates, honestly, is do I fish the morning run or do I fish the night run, or what time should I go out? Because sometimes, I have a lake around here that gets hot at 1:00 in the middle of the day. Right. Sometimes, right? So which would be cool. But I mean, even if you can't, but that
I don't know.
I would pay for that as an angler that's not doing tournaments, because sometimes I don't know where to fish, and maybe I look and oh, this lake down the road from me has a lot of fish in August that are big.
Right.
So I may pick that just based on that. Yeah, I would pay
Well,
for membership.
it's just more of utilizing the data
Yeah.
to help the fisheries and help the angler themselves. It also would probably help the director if he could see it, so that he could choose which lakes he wanted to fish at what times of the year.
Yeah.
Now,
because
would that
you
be
can
would
pick your
that
schedule based on that.
but would that actually play against you that everybody fishes that lake at the same time of the year? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, certainly.
I don't know.
It might be crowded.
That's what I'm saying. So I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just like
Yeah.
you really have to before you. It's funny how you can make one change and then it's like, holy crap, what do we do? We just opened up a Pandora's box. So
got another question for you here, Dwayne, from Tim Williams. It says, do we have to join Tourney X to follow the angler, or will it be free?
no, it would be that would probably be okay. You caught me on that one. I don't know yet. Probably be free. If you're a user of Tourney X, which is what we would require, then it would probably be free. I just haven't. It hasn't been built yet, so I don't know how we're going to lay that out. But there's always in-app payment, in-app purchases and things, and I don't want to get into all that mess. And either you could be a member or non-member. If you're a member, maybe we do it. If you're a member, then you can follow anglers. I don't know. We just have to see how we can play it out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's I don't like 20,000 ways of purchasing something. I just don't. It's just too damn
You're not going to
confusing.
microtransaction it up. You're not EA Sports and all these. Yeah.
And that's why everybody asks you, why didn't you do a membership? Why didn't you do a subscription based on fishing, charging the angler for fishing? And I said, well, because you pay to play. Okay. If you want to play, then you pay. If you don't want to play, you don't pay. And if you're a member and you have a subscription, you're more apt to cancel that subscription for the month, but you're not going to fish and then start it back up and start. But it's just a lot of starting and stopping.
Right.
It's no different than just pay to fish, So, think about it like this. Somebody fishes 10 tournaments a year, $50. Okay. That's what it costs right now, $50.
Yep.
I mean, that's what we charge.
Right.
And 10 tournaments a year is, that's a good bit of tournaments for a local club,
Yeah.
6 here, 4 there, 5 there, it's not that bad. So,
yeah. So another question from Tim, it says, what would the membership fee would be? I think you already have one set, don't you, Dwayne?
I have right now. Yes, right now it's $30 a year. We will probably be doing a special. We always do a December special for $20 for new members, and I've got to get off my tail because it's almost December 1st.
Yeah.
Ooh,
you got about
tomorrow. I got
about
4 hours.
4 hours.
Oh shit! Sorry. But if I don't get it tomorrow, I'll post it when we do. It'll be on our. If you're a member, Tim, if you want to join Tourney X group, if you're not already a member in Tourney X, come on over. If anybody in here is not a member of Tourney X group, y'all come over to Facebook and join it, and I'll accept you guys and let you in, and we'll probably drop it in there and share it around. But yeah, usually every December I do a December Merry Christmas discount for the whole month. So if you're not a member of Tourney X, you can get in for $20, where the normal fee is $30 a year. That's a year, not a month. It's a year. So
right. So
that's cheap because some tournaments are $6, $7, $10 a tournament.
And we do all your stats. So what we do with that is we keep up with all your stats. Then you have an X by your name on the Tourney X leaderboards. If and when we decide to get other stuff and add stuff to it, we'll probably just be allowed. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, you can kind of put your hero shot on there of your kayak or whatever fish you call it. It kind of gives you at the bottom. It gives you the 5 largest fish you've caught.
5 largest, your personal best, of each species, and the 5 largest ones, and it keeps track of all your tournaments in a list.
Yeah.
I mean, you go look at Ron Champions and those, man. It's like, my gosh, he's fished. Or go look at Marty Hughes.
Yeah.
Look at all the tournaments. He's thousands of tournaments he's fished. But you can go down through there and see, 200 or 300 tournaments, 500 tournaments that they fished. So it's
that's cool.
It's a good way to go keep up with people and just That's kind of the follow thing that I want to do. I mean, that's the reason why I wanted to do some type of a follow me type thing. You can go maybe follow me, have an archive button, and look at old tournaments, look at new tournaments. You know what I'm saying? And just things like that.
Because kayak fishing honestly is becoming it will never pass Bassmasters necessarily, but I think it's more achievable.
Yeah.
It's more accessible because you could
Yep.
go buy a lifetime kayak and compete with someone. You know, you don't have to have a $80,000, $150,000 skeeter. You can do it in a kayak. Yeah, you're gonna have a
Yeah.
disadvantage against a guy with an XI3 and $10,000 worth of gear on his boat.
Yeah.
But you could still go out there with a paddle kayak and catch 5-20 inches and win the tournament.
The one thing that you've got over is knowledge. If you're good at fishing, it doesn't matter what you're riding in. Okay.
Right.
If you're in a lifetime kayak and I've got my Torpedo and everything on it, if you know what you're doing and know how to find fish, you're going to surpass me. And you know what I'm saying, or whoever. So,
being able to follow. What I mean is like the whole social, being able to follow it. Like I'm really excited about the thought of that because, like, as a small time tournament angler, like I have a YouTube channel, so I'm a content creator. People that follow me on YouTube may want to follow my tournament career, and if they could watch the leaderboard, if they could follow my tournament
and be
career,
a member on Tourney X.
Yeah.
they could just watch it, and they don't have to like wait for my video. They could
Yeah.
actually follow me. And it honestly, I will say, like I said, my friends were texting me during one of the tournaments, and it kind of felt like I had like fans. Like it was almost like having, back in high school days where your parents showed up to cheer you on at the game. You kind of had
Yep.
that cheering section at the tournament, and it's
Some
because
of
you don't
the
get
things
you don't get the bleachers in the bass world. You got
some of the things we could do is you could actually put your Facebook link in Tourney X, and we could drive people back to your Facebook account, or your YouTube channel by a link that's under your profile. So we could add all kinds of variations of stuff. So we're, I think this is the beginning of something that's it's going to be good.
That's awesome.
But first and foremost, for the next 12 weeks, I'm focusing on one thing, and that's to get Tourney X where it is right now today, equivalent to where it is on the new app. Okay. Once that's done, my foundation's built, and then we can start building from there.
Yeah.
So,
certainly.
So,
well, Dwayne, we've been going for about an hour now. We're not going to hold up your time with your wife and everything, but we appreciate you coming on and being available to us tonight. And hopefully a lot of this information got to some anglers and people who's going to watch it and listen to on Spotify. We also post, I post the audio version over to Spotify. So when people drive home, they can listen to the past episodes and things like that. So
I remember when you reached out to me and you started, how many years has it been? It's only been a couple of years you've been with Tourney X now, or maybe it was just last year. I can't remember.
No, I've been with Tourney X 3 years.
Okay. As a director?
As a director, yeah.
Oh, longer than I thought. I can't remember. Yeah. There's so many, man. I mean, give you some numbers, some backing numbers. So we've got about 1,400 plus directors. We're reaching the 96,000 user range, 1.6 million fish submitted.
Wow.
It's just nuts. I would have never believed that in 8 years, 8.5, 9 years we'd be there.
Right.
That's crazy.
So let me put this out, everybody, it's not used just strictly for kayak.
That's correct.
If you want to be a tournament director, reach out to Dwayne, speak with him about it. You could do bank, you could do boats, you could do John boats, kayak, float tubes, wade fishing tournaments. It's not strictly for kayak fishing. So,
and it's not strictly bass either, guys.
Yeah.
You go on there's catfish, there's I've seen crappie,
there's fresh water, there's salt water, there's everything. So and just so you know, I work a day job. I work a 9 to 5 with actually 6 to 2:30. Been there at that plant for 25 years. I'm a maintenance electrician. I'm 100% owner in Tourney X. I answer my own phone calls. I return my phone calls when somebody calls. If you want to become a tournament director, you can go to our website. There's a button up there that says request for director account. Just click that. I'll get the email. I'll send you back the link to become a director. If you want to call me. My number's on the webpage. We can visit. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from just the anglers in general. If you guys want to just call one day, shoot me a text, let me know you're an angler and you're using Tourney X and you just want to visit. You got some ideas, call me. We'll visit. I mean, I'm an open book, man.
Yeah. So, Dwayne, when I sent you the text the other day about adding the Northeast for the
Mhm.
North
I remember
Kayak
that.
Series.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So Mike is the one that's been pushing it a little bit for me.
Yeah, that's my fault.
Because they only fish like 6 months out of the year up there.
Yeah.
Because of that freaking white stuff they get up there.
Yeah, I heard that stuff.
Yeah. And
So the biggest problem we have up here is like, for example, here in Vermont, we don't have a single trail. None.
Okay.
There's KBF Challenge Series, and that's it. That's pretty much all we have.
Yeah.
There's no live trails. I actually tried to start a Slay Nation trail at one point. That fell through. I ended up fishing in Massachusetts, and one of the things that I wanted to do was I liked the format of like the KBF monthly,
Mhm.
but I wanted to, by limiting it to Vermont, it's not getting enough participation. The KBF Challenge Series has 4 participants every month.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the same dude
Same
that wins
ones.
every month.
It's the same ones. Yeah, and this
And
just
it's
goes
annoying.
nowhere. Right.
So the thought, which is what Daniel was alluding to, is we're going to include the entire Northeast. We're making it a regional deal
Okay.
instead of having one
A
state.
monthly or a live event of some
It's
sort.
going to be a monthly. So it's going to be online monthly.
Okay.
So it's essentially just like that challenge series that KBF has,
Just
but it includes like, we didn't do like New England. We even included Canada, so
Yeah.
we're including Canadians, we're including New Jersey, New York, because
Pennsylvania.
the problem I have with doing a lot of the nationwide ones is I'm competing against Daniel, who can go get a 22-inch bass,
Right.
whereas
I
that's
get
a
that.
state record here.
I get that.
Yeah.
The problem is if I'm competing against guys that can fish OHIV,
Yeah.
I have no chance of winning. I entered into that knucklehead tournament, and I couldn't do it because I couldn't keep up with these guys that were just busting out 21s and 22s all day. So regionally, by condensing it down, I feel like it makes the playing field more level for the Northeast guys. And like Daniel said, a lot of times, because I messaged him, because I was like, dude, I love the idea of that online monthly. When do you start your tournaments? And he goes, February. And I'm like, dude, I literally asked him, the joke was, can I drag my kayak out on the ice and jig through the hole?
Just wait.
Does that count? Like, because if I'm going to do a tournament with an AOI, like an Angler of the Year,
Well,
I'm losing 3 months of that season,
so
unless I'm literally sitting in a kayak on the water, like frozen water, jigging with my rod.
Yeah. So I got a question. What is the this is a tough one. How the heck do we break into ice fishing? How do we get Look, I've already been told that certain lakes will have 600 freaking people on the ice at one time. How the hell do we get that to happen on Tourney X?
Dude, honestly, I would love to see that, because here's what currently happens, because you guys you're not really familiar with ice fishing.
Yeah.
You know how ice fishing tournaments work? They usually work on a lake that has a state park that has a beach.
Okay.
And then there's a dude there with a scale, and you carry your pike across the lake to him. So the pike is frozen and dead, or the bass or whatever species you caught. So what a lot of guys do, honestly, they lose a lot of weight because they're throwing them all on a jet sled, and they wait till they have 6 of them, and then they haul them across the lake, and then they nail them up to a board, and then that's the biggest fish. I would love to see, and honestly, I thought about running one. I was actually thinking about doing like an open at some point to kind of introduce the tournament series. I was going to talk. I didn't even talk to Daniel about this yet, but I was talking about like maybe trying to run some. The problem with, in my opinion, the ice fishing tournaments is that. So if you could do measurement, you would have to you'd probably find more guys using like those musky bump boards and the bigger boards for sure, because you're talking, I mean, you get ice fishing tournaments, you can get 40-inch muskies, no problem.
So if you catch these muskies, can you put them back in the water where they live? That's my other question. That's the next question. Do these fish
I personally think as quickly as I can measure a fish in a kayak, I feel like you could probably get them back in the water.
Right.
You're more likely to have the fish survive in a length tournament than you would in a weight tournament, 100%.
Okay.
Because you got to think, those fish are coming out of the water. The water's 40 degrees, but then the air temperature, depending on the tournament day, could be -20.
Okay.
So those fish sometimes they're dead right off anyways, and some guys end up keeping them and eating them anyways. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a better chance of getting that fish back in the water if I'm taking that fish out of the hole, slapping him down the measure board, photo, throwing him back down the hole.
Well, I mean, people down in Louisiana, when we do redfish tournaments, we don't tell them they can't take them home and eat them. Okay.
Right.
We don't.
Right.
So it's
No, yeah.
it's kind of, it is catch photo release to
Release,
grease. Okay. Or however you
Yeah.
want to look at it. But
Yeah.
it is a catch photo tournament, right? And we can't tell you whether you can't keep it or not. I never say that to anybody. Of course,
Right.
so. But yeah, man, we'd love to have you. I mean, we've run it. We've had several ice fishing tournaments. They just
Yep.
don't take off, and I know I can't seem to break that egg. Figure out what's.
I think I'm trying to be honest. I think it's a cost thing for the anglers because the boards do cost money, and they'd have to buy the board and have to bring
Oh,
the
they're
board out
cheap.
for them.
They
You
don't
can
even
get
have boats, but they're
no,
but they're in
yeah.
$1,000
They got
shack,
shanties out
though.
there, man. They got shanties that are
I know, they-
$60,000 out on ice.
I know that's the one thing I know when I was trying to start a trail here in Vermont. That was the question they asked is, well, what do I need to start? I'm like, you need a catch board or a certified.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, for those of you who don't do kayak tournaments or everything, there is boards that you can easily bend and manipulate,
Yeah,
and there's
I get
some
it,
that have been banned because they're famous for you lean on them right and you can get yourself an extra inch. But
Yeah.
We have aluminum boards down here. I don't know. We have there's down in Louisiana. They make a
Yep.
check it stick, they call it, or something like that. It's called check it stick.
Yep.
And it's it's 50 inches or 650. It's big, right? And I'm sure it's expensive, but it would work great for big muscular.
Yeah. Well, like even Catch makes a folding catch board that's 26 inches. I think it's 22 inches in half, but then it's aluminum, but it has a locking mechanism with a slide.
Yeah.
That keeps it so you actually can fold it in half. You could use it in your kayak all summer for tournaments. And then in the wintertime, if you wanted to do one of those tournaments with the bigger fish, you fold it out. And now you got like 44 inches worth of. So you could definitely do it. I would love to see an ice fishing tournament with measurement. The problem last year, we didn't get safe enough ice to actually even have any tournaments. They actually canceled.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, there was tournaments every single year. There was one tournament that on Lake Dunmore, which is not near my house. It's like a famous, like it's one of those like local derbies that's happened every year for 30 years, and they canceled it last year because there was still like people were falling through the ice and stuff. But I'd be interested to see if I could try. I mean, I can definitely try to see if I can get some interest.
Throw a hand out there, and if somebody wants to do it, I mean, we can definitely do it. But we'll try it out. We'll see.
Yeah, that would be cool. The thing I think would be you'd have to have the problem with ice fishing tournaments is they usually have like 7, 8, 10 species.
That's fine.
That's the difference. So you'd have to make sure. I don't know how Tourney X is configured for you. If you can do them, because a lot of times it's like the biggest perch, the biggest pike, the biggest bass, the biggest lake trout, the biggest.
So you can do one. Yeah,
we can do one of each species.
Yeah.
And add them all up. If it's 12 species, it's the person with the most inches with all fish.
Okay.
And so we have a culling mechanism that will cull the biggest species.
Okay.
If you tell it one of each species, then the second fish of any species just gets culled.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We have that in the mechanics.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Well,
yeah,
Mike, there's
that's
a project
a lot
for
of
you.
ice fishing ones. Yeah, that's cool. I'll definitely look into that and see if we can.
So
sounds good.
But once again, Dwayne, thank you for joining us on the Main Containment Fishing Podcast.
Yeah, man.
And hopefully you'll get the Tourney X stuff, the new app rolling out. And
I'm itching. I'm counting the days because I'm ready.
Yeah, Dwayne, if you get my contact information from Daniel, or I can definitely message you too. If you have any questions or want to run ideas, I have kind of a unique perspective because I work for a software company. So I probably have a little bit of, insight on both what anglers would want and also have an understanding of, what's actually feasible in the app world.
What I'd like to do, I'd like to put together a committee with, some
Yep.
type of a committee. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, maybe, 13, 15 people, just that we can get on a group chat and maybe once a month, just have some visits. But I need some people from different regions, not all from the South, all from the North. You know what I'm saying? I want different perspectives.
Absolutely.
And especially people that are in different genres of work, like you're in software and some, you know what I'm saying? I just think that
absolutely
hearing all the different varieties of things really helps down the road, especially, like Daniel coming from the boat side, and he's seen that side of the world and other people, then he's back, you know what I'm saying? So it really helps.
Oh, that if you form it, let me know. I'm happy to. I talk fishing on the internet because I can't fish right now. And I asked Daniel, I bug him all the time. I am constantly, I'm immersed in this world at all times. So if,
I may do a group and then just add some people as we go and just build it, and that we can, have a little Facebook group. So appreciate it.
So,
absolutely.
But thanks again, Dwayne, and
you're welcome.
Hopefully in your family, and have a great holiday, and be safe out there.
Absolutely. You too. Appreciate you, Daniel. Thanks for all you do, man.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye. Well, there you have it from the man himself, Dwayne Whaley from Tourney X. Great guy. He's reached out to me several times asking questions about the director side that I'm doing, and vice versa. I reach out to him a lot. So
it's really cool to hear like how there's some people that are like, this is how we're going to do it, and this is how I want to do it.
Yeah.
He's like, I have some ideas. Like that was the coolest thing about this whole thing was like, we were interviewing him. He was interviewing us. Like he was picking our brains to see what anglers want. Like that's awesome. Like he actually really wants to build a community. He's not invested in just making money. He's talking about what's going to work for everybody, which is awesome.
Yeah, and he's a like you said, he's not one to want to charge you for this, charge you for that. Kind of. He wants a set fee, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, but again, Mike, great podcast. Hopefully, everybody learns something from Dwayne. Hopefully, we'll have him on once he gets the new app released. And
we should definitely once he gets the new stuff, we should have him back and see what made it. It'd be kind of cool to see the comparison between what he was talking about and where it ended up.
Yep. So, everybody, Dwayne does have Tourney X over on Facebook. I don't know if he has an Instagram, but I think he does. It's under Tourney X. Yeah.
I think I've seen it.
So go make sure you like his social media, give him a follow, ask him questions. He'll answer them to the T. So once again, thank y'all, and fish on.